I want you to be able to heal. And healing will maybe happen. I can't tell you how it's going to happen or what.
What if everything you thought you knew about Sister Wives is already outdated? What if the show you've been observing for over a decade is already fading into relevancy, but is actually flatlining in reality? Think about this for a moment. The iconic opening sequence is gone. No more awkward musical jingle. No more rings suddenly falling out of the show's title. And most of all, no more Kody Brown sitting, in essence, at the throne of everything. In place of all this, imagine a screen glitching and out to transform into a darker and more chilling show in very controlled ways. Emerging from this shock is a whole new formation, including David Woolley, Christine, and a very assertive move to transfer power, marking a new end of an old sequence, because what we're hearing isn't just an indication of a split-up or a dysfunctional family. No, this is definitely the end of an old story and the beginning of a whole different kind of war. A reality show, one which is colder, smarter, harder, and a heck of a lot more business savvy than TLC has ever attempted before on television. The theory of the day that we're going to rip apart not only shakes up the status quo, but blows it wide open. It's not just a marriage falling apart. A whole new empire is being constructed from those ashes. Welcome back to Sister Wives Daily, your one-stop companion for the most in-depth analysis, daring theories, and hot takes on everything concerning the Brown family. To keep yourself one step ahead of all the news in a given week and in the know on everything before it makes it to tabloids, you must first annihilate the like button and subscribe to notifications. Everything is about to change with what is being unraveled next, the Coyote Pass conspiracy. Let's just go straight into this week's most jaw-dropping reality TV gossip. Of course, you all know David Woolley. To the public, he is Christine Brown's husband, the stable influence she desperately needed after all those years of Kody Brown's temper tantrums and tyrannical behavior. The man with all the right ideas, but never in the spotlight. The safe option. But is this really all you need to know? What if this man isn't just a good husband, but the most cunning TLC reality show contestant to have ever existed? As this theory proposes, David grasped this very early on and never did Kody. The actual value in Coyote Pass wasn't in the land, not in the dirt, not in the trees, and most definitely not in the muddy pond where all those teenagers used to have their makeout parties. The actual value in Coyote Pass, and always has been, is in the story. Whispers in the halls, it seems, are leading David to connect the dots and examine the bigger picture. And whispers in the halls, it's alleged, have indicated he may have made the most daring move in reality television history by pitching a plan so brazen it defies belief. His proposal? To end Sister Wives in its entirety. Why would TLC think to bring this up? Because let's be real, the story is old news. They know this. The audience knows this. David knows this. How many times can they keep watching Kody and Robin sitting on a couch, fake crying, rehashing an old victim of circumstance angle when clearly things have not changed? Sure, they're still getting views, but they've changed their vibe. They aren't watching because they want to watch anymore. They're hate watching, and this is where David saw his chance. He didn't go into TLC with another storyline in tow. He offered a business proposition, a partnership, the plan? To put a whole new spin-off show not based on plural marriage, but based on the very war over Coyote Pass itself. A full-blown war, with David not just being a part of the show, but a producer in the background. Let's go with Coyote Pass Wars, or perhaps Brown Legacy, the next chapter. Either way, the implications are immense. Here's where this theory gets all the more interesting. David Woolley is not a newcomer when it comes to contracts, assets, and negotiation. He runs an established drywall company. He knows all about leverage. He knows all about investment. And if these reports are any indication, he may end up partly funding the production of this new series. And this, folks, is a nightmare come true for TLC. However, there's a problem. David will have influence if he invests. Influence over the edit. Influence over the narrative. influence over how the story will be told. And this will effectively remove Kody Brown from under-the-scenes control, which he thinks he's had all this time. Kody Brown always thought of himself as the ring master, but perhaps David is going to buy the circus with this new format. All attention shifts gears. The plural marriage is not the focus anymore, and let's face it, plural marriage is already over in this family. The lens rather focuses on a full-blown war, Kody and Robyn in one corner, holding on to whatever they can of their grip, and David, Christine, and Chanel in another corner, taking back their wealth, freedom, and their future. The old order against the new order. And in this new reality, these characters finally come into focus. David emerges as the cold, calculated hero, or perhaps simply a savior, depending on your personal views. Christine and Chanel come into their own righting a wrong in which they have, for years, been denied emotionally and financially. And Kody and Robyn? No sugarcoating, no narrative arm helping them out. They're exactly what they are, a panicked, desperate attempt to keep their kingdom intact with all hell breaking loose. And in terms of production, this theory actually tells a lot. There have been whispers of this season being all over the place. Well, this is because this family is broken. A war will organize this chaos. A war will supply this conflict with a backbone. And a war will give TLC exactly what they need, and this season will explode with a brand new rebirth. And this is only the beginning. Here's where the whole dynamic would already be moving from a reaction to repercussions to a full-on war. As in this new format of this reality show, not every single installment would be based on hurt pride and dramatic revelations. Strategy would be at play, purposed and calculated actions. As dictated by this theory, David and his group would not simply react to Kody, but strategize over him each week. We're not talking about awkward family dinner conversations or uncomfortable backyard talk anymore. This is serious next-level stuff. Legal loopholes hidden deep within deeds to real property. Strategic public statements meant to shake Kody's constructed facade. High-intensity situations where financial documents are dumped onto a table, pushing realities into the light. Now, Sister Wives ceases to be a sad divorce journal and begins to look more like a serious corporate thriller with Flagstaff being the war zone, and it puts you in a position where you have to ask yourself, is David Woolley perhaps silently showing up this season to prove himself to be a producer-level thinker? Because we have seen Kody try to balance an asset for years, leaving many of us confused in the process and contradicting himself in the attempt. David, on the other hand, is a man of construction and business experience. He does not view Coyote Pass as a dream or an idea. He views a spreadsheet. If there is any truth to these claims of an under-the-table arrangement with TLC, David would not simply be sharing a war story. He would be profiting from a destruction Kody, in part, perpetrated. There is a cruel irony to this dynamic. Kody took years to try to commoditize his wives, to make them a revenue stream, a tool of control. Now consider this man's ex-wife's new husband. He would do this to Kody. That is not ironic. It is an malicious vengeance. The idea was Coyote Pass Wars was a small, high-intensity show, continues this theory. No pads, no prologue with this story taking place over years and years. A quick and out show with a beginning, middle, and end. And, of course, David's angle is that viewers are no longer rooting for Christine to be happy. They want to see Kody lose. A show with a David Woolley sensibility will offer just this. A show with this sensibility will remove the religious persecution. Kody readily covers most of his antics with and show people exactly what they think is already present in this family concerning money, greed, and manipulation. But let's talk about money because this is where things get risky. We have all heard a rumor or two over time concerning Kody and Robyn being under financial duress. The massive house, the pricey artwork, the designer watches and rings. Everything can get rather pricey. Perhaps because the regional series of Sister Wives got canceled to accommodate this new series. Kody would automatically have a problem with where he gets most of his income since he might not be a part of this reboot, and this is where the sting in this deal is. Kody would not be the hero in this series. He would not be narrating this series. In fact, he would be playing a negative role in this series. And this is where Kody will have to do whatever David wants in order to keep getting a check. Imagine Kody Brown being in a series where he takes a contract with David Woolley being in charge. Well, let's get back to something very interesting and very tellingly subtle. That glitch in the introduction I mentioned earlier. Some insiders think TLC is working up a whole new branding strategy backstage. Be testing in quiet mode, gauging audience responses to David's appearances. Have you observed how frequently he's gotten screen time lately? The way they keep focusing on him when he gives an address, and particularly when he gives an address about Kody. The minds of network executives think like entrepreneurs, not storytellers. And they can read a room. Just like David, the Kody Brown era is over. The David and Christine era is emerging, but it must have gasoline to run. And gasoline is conflict. Enter the land. Coyote Pass isn't just real estate. Coyote Pass is the ultimate symbol of everything that's gone wrong. One big house, failed 5 houses, failed years of promises, arguments, and delays ending in a barren plot of land choked with crushed hopes and unresolved financial statements. For a family, it's a sore spot. For a reality producer, it's gold. David recognizes a truth which Kody will never grasp. If you own the land, you control the narrative. With an investment in the project, or by aligning himself with TLC headfirst, David will control this narrative. Christine will be protected. Janelle will be uplifted. Kody will be laid bare. But when exactly all this happens? Well, this is perhaps the most interesting piece of all. All these theories are not rising haphazardly. They fit beautifully with financial struggles in Kody and Robin's household. When people are in a tight spot, they will settle. They will put their names on contracts they never would have otherwise agreed to. David recognizes this. He can smell a vulnerability. He recognizes he now holds all the leverage because this isn't just about making good television. This is about winning a war that has been raging for years, which leads us to the plan for this series. First of all, this would not be episodic television with these installments. This would be a war. Episode 1, a proposal. David shows Kody a way to split up a country. Episode 2, a rejection. Kody rejects and starts to come unraveled. Episode 3, an loophole. A lawsuit leads to a split or a sale. The end. But because David is personally injecting money into production, everything suddenly changes. Sharper cuts, paced quicker, better production quality, a more contemporary sensibility with a newfound desire to leave in the rearview mirror the slow, grueling crawl of the latter years of Sister Wives. This wouldn't just be a new show. It would be a reckoning, but here's where this theory takes a darker, more uncomfortable turn. If David Woolley is truly positioning himself to profit from this family's collapse, what does that actually make him? Hero finally helping these women escape a toxic, manipulative past? Or just another man stepping in to capitalize on the Brown family name for fame, influence, and money? It's a fair question, an important one, and yet, if you look at fan sentiment, most viewers aren't wrestling with that moral dilemma at all. They're exhausted. They're angry. And more than anything, they want to see Kody Brown face consequences. If David ends up being the vehicle through which that karma arrives, the audience is more than willing to accept him. Because the real brilliance of the Coyote Pass Wars concept is that it promises something the show has denied viewers for years, resolution, because, according to these insider theories, this wouldn't be manufactured reality TV drama. A focus on the land means real attorneys, real filings, real court documents, and real financial risk. This would be the documentation of an actual asset dispute, possibly even an asset forfeiture. And it matters, especially when you remember that Janelle has repeatedly spoken about how her estate, future, and financial security are tied up in Coyote Pass, this show becomes her path to reclaiming what she put into the family and never got back with David's financial backing. The power dynamic overnight changes. Janelle would no longer be fighting with one hand tied behind her back. For years, Kody has used money as leverage, rewarding obedience and punishing independence. David Woolley completely disarms that tactic. He has his own income and his own resources. He doesn't need Kody's approval, and he certainly doesn't need his permission to film or to fight back. This shift in power might also explain something fans have been quietly noticing: the strange silence. The vague answers. The lack of clarity on social media about the future of the show. If these theories are even partially true, new NDA letters could already be in place. If Sister Wives is technically canceled, no one can speak on it. If Coyote Pass Wars is in pre-production, they're locked down even tighter. That kind of silence is rarely accidental, and more often than not, it means something huge is unfolding behind closed doors. As we conclude this first phase of the deep dive, keep that image with you. David Woolley seated in a boardroom across from TLC executives, binders stacked on the table, documents laid out, a step-by-step plan detailing exactly how the story will take down Kody Brown frame by frame, not through shouting matches, but through contracts, edits, and exposure. It's a hostile takeover of a reality TV franchise. It's business, it's personal, and it's disturbingly brilliant. But let there be no doubt, this is just the tip of the iceberg in regard to the war for Coyote Pass, because the battle doesn't end with the adults. The children are no longer just background faces or emotional props, but rather they're coming into their own as active players in this chess match we're about to expose in just a moment. How the Brown kids are rumored to be positioned as pawns, double agents, and even information leaks inside this new reality TV machine. The alleged roles of Gwendolyn, Mykelti, and even the younger children are far more strategic than anyone expected. And once you see how they fit into David's so-called master plan, everything shifts again, because if you thought it was explosive that David Woolley invested in TLC and might seize control of Sister Wives, wait until you hear how the children factor into it. In every war, there are commanders, there are foot soldiers, and sadly, there are pawns. But in the universe of Coyote Pass Wars, the Brown children are no longer silent extras drifting in and out of scenes. So this theory goes: they have become the most valuable assets in David Woolley's arsenal, wearing his alleged producer hat. David may have recognized something Kody never did. Kody treated his children as extensions of his authority, people who either complied or were emotionally discarded. David, by contrast, sees them as individuals with voices, platforms, and agency. And more importantly, he understands they may be the most effective way to dismantle Kody's narrative from the inside. In this proposed spin-off, the kids are in completely different roles. To call them pawns would even be selling it short. Double agents is probably the better term. The most striking example is Gwendolyn Brown. Over the past months, we have watched her fire up a YouTube channel, revisit old episodes, speak openly about her experiences, and directly challenge her father's version of events. On the surface, it looks like a daughter processing trauma in public. But through the lens of this insider theory, it could be something far more calculated. What if Gwen's channel is no longer just personal expression? What if, in a new Coyote Pass Wars paradigm, it is in fact an integrated arm of the show's marketing strategy? Think about how powerful that is. Traditional reality television leans on trailers and promos. But David, as a modern businessman, understands the real battleground is online. It suggests the production isn't silencing Gwen with NDA letters, they're megaphoning her, weaponizing her voice. Every time she drops a truth bomb about Kody, engagement spikes, the viewer outrage grows, and the appetite to watch him finally get nailed for that intensifies. In this new format, we could even see the fourth wall fall away completely. Picture it, an episode where Kody doles out his standard revisionist history of an incident only for the scene to cut immediately to Gwendolyn in her reaction space, receipts in hand, dismantling his claims in real time. And that is where the story finally gets out of his hands. What this ultimately creates is a feedback loop of chaos that Kody Brown can't manage, manipulate, or shut down. He's no longer just sparring with his former wives behind closed doors. Now, he's up against a full-blown multimedia campaign driven by his own children and allegedly orchestrated by the man who replaced him. Every attempt Kody makes to control the narrative only feeds the machine working against him, and that brings us to the most controversial figures in the sibling dynamic, Mykelti and Tony, for years. Fans have had a complicated, often frustrated relationship with them. Many viewers felt betrayed watching them remain close to Kody and Robyn while much of the family distanced themselves. But the Coyote Pass Wars theory completely flips that perception. What if Mykelti and Tony are not loyalists? What if they are spies? In the frame of this proposed new series, David Woolley needs intelligence. He needs eyes and ears inside the McMansion. He needs to know what Kody's mental state is, what Robyn's next move will be, and what the true financial condition is of the camp he's up against. And Mykelti is singularly positioned to provide that access. According to the theory, the show would cast Mykelti and Tony as double agents. We'd see them go visit Robyn, playing the good daughter and supportive son-in-law. They listen patiently while she vents, nodding through as Kody spirals through yet another rant. Then the scene cuts. The camera follows them driving away, phones out reeling what they've just learned to Christine or David, a planned lot sale. Panic over a subpoena. A crack in the armor. In one stroke, every word, gesture, and action from Mykelti to Robyn is layered with subtext. Is Robyn paranoid? Does Kody feel that there may be a mole inside his house? That is television gold. Suddenly, what viewers once perceived as aggravating neutrality was actually a stroke of strategy. Mykelti becomes an active player, not a bystander in the dismantling of the patriarchal system that hurt her and her siblings. And David's role in that shift cannot be understated. Kody demanded loyalty through blood, fear, and obedience. David allegedly earns it through support, stability, and strategy. By giving the adult children active roles in this war, he's validating their experiences while simultaneously fueling the production. Is it morally gray? Absolutely. But is it compelling television? Without question. And let's be real, TLC doesn't trade in morality. It trades in engagement. If David pitched a show where the children themselves are the ones striking the match that finally burns down Kody's ego, executives likely signed off before he even finished the sentence. But then we reach what is the most heartbreaking layer of this whole theory. The divide between the free children and the captive ones, Coyote Pass. Wars would allegedly shine a harsh light on the psychological toll this family fracture has taken. You have truly on one side. Since moving to Utah, she looks lighter and more confident, visibly at ease around David, truly becomes the living proof of what happens when a child escapes Kody Brown's emotional gravity. David becomes the antithesis, the steady presence who doesn't demand loyalty, doesn't weaponize affection, and shows up now. Take that and compare it with what we could be viewing from the Robyn's household: Solomon, Ariella, Dayton, Rora, and Brina. On the basis of this theory, the production would make sure their isolation was highlighted in particular. The loud, imperfect, joyful chaos from the Christine Janelle-David alliance against the interior of Robyn's home. Being quiet, anxious, and fortress-like would be impossible to not notice. And here's the important difference. Robyn's kids wouldn't be positioned as villains. They would be presented as the very victims of fear, control, and paranoia. The audience would witness Kody forbidding them from going to family gatherings, Robyn warning them about the evil in the outside world. The message would be there, loud and clear: they are not protected. They are held hostage. That story is heartbreaking and ridiculously powerful. It elicits sympathy for the children while building white-hot anger toward Kody and Robyn, and anger, as we all know, sells. Other whispers from insiders indicate a significant financial change with the kids. For years, fans have theorized that the Brown kids didn't receive fair financial compensation for their time spent on camera. Most of the money reportedly goes into a family fund headed by Kody and Robin. David Woolley, purportedly handling this like a businessman, is said to have written in a stipulation that ensures any adults and minors involved in the production are paid directly and fairly. That one action would break Kody's last bit of control if Gwen, Isabel, or Gabriel can make some actual money filming for Coyote Pass Wars. Then they do not have to get Kody's okay to show up and speak. And when they speak, they will tell the truth. Financial freedom takes the last arrow that Kody had. And with that, the boys come into the story, like Gabriel and the legacy of Garrison. This might be the most emotionally explosive of all. The tragedy with Garrison is very real and very raw. Any series or show thinking along these lines would have to address this with a level of sensitivity and caution. Based on this theory, Coyote Pass Wars would not sensationalize this tragedy. No, they would validate this tragedy. They would recognize a pain that many of these boys have carried with them these last years, the pain of being forgotten by their father. The thought is, we may get a glimpse into things which have never before been seen. The flashbacks, other unseen footage, or direct statements from the brothers themselves, not in order to exploit their pain, but in order to name it. To utter it aloud, these two young men were not problem children, not unloyal, not a problem. They were children asking for their father and being denied. David's agenda in all this is critical. He is not filling a role to replace someone else. He is not recasting himself in a role of hero, and this is all why the series, if such a series were to exist, really isn't actually about the land. The land is simply a precipitating factor. The wars want a vindication, particularly for the boys who have already been scapegoated for Kody's fractures. Production-wise, this all contains an interesting dynamic in and of itself. How do you record a war where both sides are not allowed in one room? In the old sister-wives formula, this resistance lends towards stale Zoom meetings and awkward couch interviews. With Coyote Pass Wars, this separation serves a purpose. The theory is that this show will go in a very contrasty way. The screen divides in two. On one side, David and Christine's life, a war room bright and airy, full of people passing through, moving forward in meaningful conversations amidst all this living. Then, on the other side, Kody and Robin's life, a bunker, dark and heavy with all this unresolved negative space. Just the two of them stuck in this never-ending cycle, talking the same old tired talk, moving inward. The very style of this show will be a character in and of itself, revealing in a very wordless way which world is expanding and which one is imploding. Then, of course, come the grandchildren, Avalon, the twins, the next generation. They aren't part of the scenery. They are, in fact, the stakes. Here is where the contrast ripens into pain. David is seen building, physically, mentally, a playhouse, a deck, a place where children can run freely and without fear. Meanwhile, Kody is consumed with property lines, rotten logs, and schemes for the future which never come to fruition. The contrast speaks volumes. David builds for tomorrow. Kody holds on to yesterday. The children and grandchildren represent a mirror which reflects to different philosophies of legacies, but there's a piece of this theory with a particularly volatile rumor attached. A truth and reconciliation show revolved around the adult kids. No tell-all, no reunion with a soft-hosted format, but a town hall style led by someone professional, someone educated in dealing with trauma, not diminishing it. The kids get a chance to speak, to confront. And Kody better be on stage with them or leave his chair empty. An empty chair would have a lot more to tell than any monologue. It creates a vacuum which his ego simply couldn't handle. Eventually, he'd have no choice but to show up in order to defend himself. To regain control, walking right into a confrontation erected very much on David's and the producer's terms, but with the children engaged with the business side of the show. The whole dynamic of a leak shifts. The whole life of these tabloids operating on sources within the family, pushing Kody and Robin into paranoia loops all these years, would be rendered obsolete. Now leaks would not be an accident. They will be a tool. The logic is that producers can reach out to these children with information, just enough to see if it will make a splash online, a status update concerning a rumored land sale, a mysterious comment concerning a fight. A reaction from the audience means it will definitely make the shooting schedule. The kids become a focus group, the marketing team, the heartbeat of a series. And this is where David's strategic sense really shines through. He knows a deep truth. This audience raised these children. They were with them through first steps, getting their licenses, falling in love, being hurt. They invest in these children. And David supports them quietly, but consistently. He wins the audience over without lifting a finger or raising a voice. Kody, simply by contrast, finds himself opposing a villain, but danger lurks in this reality. Real danger. Is this simply exploitation all over again? Is involving these younger children in a war narrative a good idea? Those skeptical of this theory would claim that profit in trauma is simply non-negligible exploitation, regardless of who is practicing this trade. That David can be perpetually guilty of the same thing Kody did with better PR prospects, what the counter-argument the show would surely promote is reclaiming. These children were taped for years in order to peddle a fantasy they didn't possess. They're now being compensated, shielded, and enabled to knock over this house of cards. Media therapy, whether you believe this justification or not. This is incontestable. You would have been watching as a matter of fact. With all the children participating, Kody finds himself in a war on all fronts. He can no longer dedicate all this attention to the land. He not only has to deal with Gwen's YouTube channel, Michael T's connections, Penan's TikTok accounts, but a whole public, increasingly viewing him not as a misguided patriarch, but a failed father. He's surrounded and at the front of the other side, organizing, consolidating, writing checks. And holding the storm at bay is David Woolley, which brings us to the end of the penultimate act. Motive * our motive is not hard to players include a new block and a failing old school. What we haven't yet revealed is how this war is supposed to end. We know who the soldiers are. We've mapped the battlefield, but every war leaves a single unavoidable question unanswered. What's the end game? Every great conflict reaches its terminus with some sort of final confrontation, a moment in which the masks fall, the treaties burn, and someone walks away with everything. If this theory is to be believed, for Coyote Pass, that moment is no longer hypothetical. It's coming, and it's coming fast, and what's being rumored as the finale of this proposed series is unlike anything reality TV has ever tried. It's not about dividing lots or settling the paperwork. It's about erasing memories of what Kody Brown tried and failed to build. The land isn't just being sold. It's being transformed, rewritten. And if this theory is true, the plans David Woolley has in store for Coyote Pass are so bold, polarizing, and very likely sure to detonate the fan base. But to make it happen, David needs one final thing from Kody Brown, a fatal mistake. In this final chapter of our deep dive into the Coyote Pass Wars theory, we arrive at its rumored endgame, a finale so explosive, it could permanently alter the landscape of reality TV. You thought the divorces were the climax? Think again. Those were only the prologue. The real story is one of conquest. And in this version of events, the conqueror isn't Kody. It's David Woolley. According to the theory, the final season of this spin-off is built around a ticking clock, a looming deadline, a foreclosure window, a tax lien maturity, or a balloon payment that Kody and Robin simply cannot meet. The exact mechanism varies depending on the source, but the pressure is the point. Time is running out, and Kody is cornered. This is where David's purported instincts as both a businessman and a producer meet, the rumor goes. It wasn't going to be some pre-recorded episode stitched together months later. No safety net, no selective edits. Instead, David's said to have pitched a live television event, a 2-hour live special broadcast straight from Coyote Pass itself. Think less season finale, more Super Bowl for TLC viewers. The premise for this live broadcast? The final settlement. This is where the rubber hits the road with Kody Brown. He's given an ultimatum he can't escape, forwarded live and in real time. First option, he buys the shares from Janelle and Mary at market value today. Real money, liquid cash, which, by most accounts, he doesn't have. Second option, he agrees to an outside investor buying out fully, and the investor? The holding company, named Generation Development Group and quietly owned by David Woolley. Now imagine the tension, cameras rolling live, lawyers seated at the table, Christine and Janelle present, no producer whispering in Kody's ear, no post-production chance to reframe the narrative. Just Kody staring across the table at the man who took his place while the world watches. If Kody signs, he loses the land he's obsessed over for years. His dream dies, but he walks away free of debt. If he refuses, the theory claims David reveals the nuclear option, a partition action that forces the land into a public auction. One, David has the capital to dominate and would leave Kody with nothing but legal bills and humiliation. In that instant, Coyote Pass ceases to be real estate and becomes a coliseum. The audience finally gets its desired justice. For years, viewers watched Kody use that land as a weapon, stalling, manipulating, punishing. To see him forced to relinquish it live on air to the man who outplayed him would be a narrative payoff so perfect it feels scripted. And yet, the financial stakes would make it terrifyingly real. But that is not the end of the story by a long shot when the ink dries. Because the most shocking part of this theory isn't how David takes the land, it's what he allegedly does with it. Afterward, David Woolley is a developer. He sees opportunity where others see baggage. And per these speculative insider sources, he has no intention of building a family home on Coyote Pass. Why would he? He already has a life with Christine in Utah, far away from Flagstaff and its ghosts. It does not. The theory is suggesting something much more daring. Coyote Pass wouldn't become a home. It would turn into a set, a permanent production location, a reality TV landmark. The infrastructure is already partially there. The views are instantly recognizable. The notoriety is global. David could develop the land into a filming hub for future TLC projects or even a controversial, branded experience tied to the franchise itself. It sounds outlandish. It sounds petty. And in the cold logic of capitalism, brilliant. The land that once represented a sense of Kody Brown's dominion over his world would be repurposed into a monument to his defeat. It would make money, produce content, and thrive in his absence. Coyote Pass would no longer be the property of the man who hoarded it. It would be the property of the story that killed him, and that brings us back to the question that's haunted this entire deep dive. Is David Woolley the savior of this fractured family? Or is he the most calculated villain TLC has ever allowed behind the curtain? Because, in the end, history doesn't remember intentions. It keeps in mind who won. Kody Brown wanted to build a haven for his patriarchy, a blessed kingdom where his supremacy would not be questioned and would be permanent. Per this theory, David Woolley does the unthinkable. He turns that so-called haven into a cash cow that reaps directly from Kody's demise. Every fan who tours, every production that shoots there, every dollar that comes from that property becomes a living, breathing reminder of who actually emerged victorious in that war. It is an ulterior level of humiliation when your sacred ground turns into a tourist attraction managed by your ex-wife's husband. It is that compels us, the audience, to face the uncomfortable questions. If this spin-off becomes reality, if Coyote Pass Wars replaces Sister Wives, what does that say about us? Would we be willing to let the original show end just to watch this new one begin? For most fans, the answer is brutally honest. Yes. We are exhausted by the stalemate, tired of circular conversations that go nowhere. We want resolution, even if that resolution is scorched earth. We want consequences. We want to see the villains fall and the women finally win. Sister Wives, in its current form, is a tragedy stretched thin. Coyote Pass Wars would be a revenge thriller, a full genre shift that injects urgency, stakes, and finality into a franchise that's been limping along. But that shift comes with a moral price tag, and this is where the theory gets uncomfortable. Is David Woolley a visionary producer? Or is he monetizing a family's destruction? This is the gray area nobody wants to sit in. Kody Brown is undeniably a tragic figure of his own making, but he's a human being nonetheless. Is it ethical for David to step in, bankroll a show built around Kody's downfall, and profit from it? Business-wise, it is ruthless but fair game. Morally, it is complicated, and yet, the court of public opinion has already convicted her. Many viewers believe Kody surrendered his right to sympathy the moment he emotionally abandoned his children and discarded his wives. In that narrative, David isn't an exploiter. He's the executioner of karma, the one delivering a punishment the universe and the audience has been demanding for years, which leads to the following, even more ominous one. What's a family supposed to do for the sake of reality TV? The Browns agree to this if Kody signs for the paycheck, if the kids become informants. If legal warfare turns episodic, they're indicating any line between their real lives and their performances has completely evaporated. They aren't a family anymore. They're a cast. Employees of the drama. And the irony of that may be that, by professionalizing the conflict, David Woolley is maybe the only honest one here. He stops pretending it is about faith or values or lifestyle. He's acknowledging what it really is, cash and power and entertainment. In a weird way, that feels more honest than the last 10 years of Sister Wives did. It also reframes the legacy of the franchise itself. Sister Wives began as an attempt to normalize polygamy. Instead, it became a case study in how damaging and unsustainable it can be. This new show wouldn't be a continuation, it would be a post-mortem. The cleanup after the ideology collapses and the lawyers take over. A cautionary tale wrapped in high-definition drama. And for TLC, the motive is pretty straight. Sister Wives is costly when nothing happens. Kody has a high salary command. Robin needs accommodation. A co-financed series backed by David Woolley slashes production costs. A show having a natural and the sale of the land creates real event television, driving premium ad rates. And the buzz? Unimaginable. The internet would implode if a trailer dropped showing David Woolley in the producer's chair, staring into the camera and saying, "It's time to settle the score." There's even a sub-theory that Kody knows all of this is coming. That his recent volatility, his anger, his erratic behavior are the signs of a man who knows he's been outplayed. He can't match David's resources. He's lost control of the narrative. If this theory holds, we're watching the final days of a ruler who hears the tanks approaching the palace, scrambling to empty the treasury before the new regime arrives. So imagine the last shot, the live broadcast ends. The contracts are signed. The sun sets behind the Flagstaff Mountains. The camera drifts across Coyote Pass one last time. A sold sign stuck in the dirt, but not a generic one. It has the logo of David's company on it. The frame pulls out to reveal Christine and David on the deck of an airban, completed and new, raising mocktails as the wind rustles through the grass. No music, nothing. The sound of a war finally finished. This Coyote Pass Wars is the ending many fans believe we deserve, the women deserve. And if we're being honest, it's the ending Kody Brown earned, whether this is a leaked plan, a theoretical pitch, or simply the collective manifestation of millions of frustrated viewers. One truth is inescapable: the status quo is dead. David Woolley has joined this conversation and brought a checkbook with him. And this is exactly where you come in, because this story is not over with me. No, this story will conclude with the Sister Wives family. I want you in the comments below, right now, taking charge of this thread. Do you really think David Woolley has the analytical mind and chutzpah to actually go through with this? Or does this idea blur the line from justice to revenge? Would you really watch a show where Kody Brown is no longer protected with soft cuts, but is now depicted straight out as the villain, scrambling and struggling for survival in these television episodes? What if Coyote Pass itself? Should this very land be sold out from under all these people's feet and simply become a footnote in history? Or do these women get to keep this piece of property as a victory trophy over what they lived through? Well, this has been an epic, no-holds-barred analysis of one of the craziest theories buzzing around reality television right now. We have unraveled the alleged production shakeup. We have decoded the role of children in all this and evolving power struggles. And we have traced the trail of breadcrumbs all the way to where it might all go terribly wrong, the land where it all began. Whether you love this theory or loathe this theory, one thing remains absolutely irrevocable: it alters your perception of everything if this deep dive left you thinking. If this series of dots connected you in a way that this show is clearly unwilling to acknowledge, and you want more insider-level analysis with a ring of truth to it, but none of the official trappings, you know the drill by now. Hit a hard like on this video, subscribe to Sister Wives Daily so you never miss a theory, and enable notifications, because if this gets from being a series of speculations into a reality television series, we will be going live when it drops. The intro is glitching. The old order is falling apart. The impression is disintegrating. Welcome to the Coyote Pass Wars. I'll see you in the next video.